Welcome to Courageous Parenting Summit, transforming challenges into opportunities. Today we have here with us Tina Paulus. Welcome, Tina.
Hi, welcome. Thank you so much. It's so good to be with you guys.
I am Filza Jabin, mother of three children, transformational teen and parent leadership coach. And our vision is to empower parents and children. Um, can we start it over?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it. Yeah.
Welcome to Courageous Parenting Summit, transforming challenges into opportunities. Today we have here with us Tina Paulus. Welcome, Tina.
Hi, it's good to be here.
I am Filza Jabin, mother of three beautiful children, transformational teen and parents leadership coach. And our vision is to empower parents and children by building connection with love.
Thank you, Filza. I'm Edith Wolek. I'm a transformational leadership coach. I'm an Amazon best-selling book author and mother of three clever children. Welcome, Tina Paulus Klaus.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's so good to be here with you.
Amazing to have you here. So I will read your bio now. Tina Paulus Cross is a team transformation trainer, master coach, and inspirational keynote speaker who empowers leaders and teams to embody emotional intelligence with new ways of communication that lead to deeper relationships and unprecedented results. Through her proven cider strategies, Tina has coached hundreds of leaders to create clarity, growth, and sustained success. Tina holds a PhD certificate in mastering leadership. Tina is married to Al, and together they have 5 adult children and a silver lab named Rocky.
Yes, we can't forget Rocky.
We can't miss Rocky now. Welcome, Tina.
Thank
Um,
you.
can you tell us a little bit about the topic that is so powerful, especially now, learning the strategies for for our parents to learn strategies how to empower our children and how they can create connection with their teens, with their children.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm kind of on the other end of it, right? Like I think probably some of the people listening to this maybe are in the throes of having teenagers, and I'm coming at it from a little bit different perspective. My transformation started in 2015 when my daughter was actually 24 years old. My daughter was 24, my son was 22. And on a Sunday morning at 10 a.m. in the morning, I got the phone call, Mom, something really bad happened last night. And at the time, in that moment, I was at the height of my career in corporate. I was climbing the ladder, working way too much during the week. And my daughter called and said, Mom, something really bad happened last night. And literally, as a workaholic, my whole life completely stopped. I called in, I said, Hey, I'm not coming in this week. She came home that week. We sat and talked and laughed and cried. And she was severely addicted to drugs and alcohol. And so that Friday, I sent her on a one-way plane ticket to Arizona to go to drug and alcohol rehab. And as I watched her go up the escalator, and leave, all of a sudden she's not in my sight. I sat there in the airport sobbing because it was this moment when, she's 24 years old and I messed up. She's not where she needs to be right now, in this moment. And it was the mom guilt. And it was this moment in my life where I was like, okay, something gets to change. Something needs to change right now. I don't know what it is. So she went to drug and alcohol rehab. And I say that I went to like emotional rehab, which is really self-leadership training, doing the inner work, all that kind of stuff. A lot of the stuff that we do with the teens, when they're actually teens. And so through the process of her going and healing in her direction and me healing in my direction, several years later, we came back together and, not several years later, we were in contact a lot of the time, but we were kind of in this like isolation stage, right? Like she was doing her healing, I was doing mine. At the same time, we were going through a lot of the generational healing. So when I say generational healing, it's things like the trauma that had happened through the childhood, right? Like I would say that my kids were the most important thing in the world, if anybody would ask me. And it wasn't like I was lying, it was true. But I would say that, but then I would turn around and I would work 100 hours a week. And so what that was doing is by the time I got home, I had zero energy for the people that meant the most to me in my life. And I was sleeping. I was pretending not to know that that was really what was happening. And so through our own individual transformations, together collectively today, we have a retreat center where we bring people in and transform people because we realized that, as we started being the generational stop to things that were happening in our family, as I started being the stop to things that were happening in my career and in my life and in my relationships, we started to see different results, right? And as you start to see those different results, you start to go, wow, these tools really work, and this is really something. And so we've been through it all in the last 10 years of just, the deep healing and the transformation and everything that comes through it. And so we're really this living example of hurt people, and transform people. And so that's been the course of it. And so on the other end of it, I'm like, geez, if I could just go back, and do it differently when they were young. And our purpose was not that. My purpose was to go through exactly what we went through so that on the other end, we can now support other parents and teens and professionals to really do the inner work so that they can rise into their full leadership. So that's been our story. And that's how like the wake up call came for me. And in that wake up call, the ripple effect has been incredible throughout all the relationships in my life.
Super
Okay.
powerful.
Yeah.
I can totally relate. And and I remember going to a transformational leadership training, and I thought I was doing this for my business,
Yeah.
being business
Yeah.
skills rather than, and later on, it showed up that I needed those skills to support my eldest son in his
Yeah.
illness, in his recovery. So
Mhm.
it's super powerful that the timing that we go through those experiences.
Yeah, for sure. And and I think the big wake up call for me as a parent was really owning the results, right? Owning the results that, okay, my daughter's in recovery right now. How did we get here? How did we get here? What happened? And literally through those 10 years, it was conversation after conversation, after healing conversation, after clearing conversation, to just really start to understand where we were each coming from and how collectively we could come together and really support each other to create this vision of where we want to go. But it really is about getting this inner work into to the kids at a younger age. And that's what you are doing. And so I honor you for that because it makes a huge difference. Watching those teens, like literally watching them show up on day one. And then by the time they graduate and just the transformation and the change that happens in that moment, it's magic. It's magic. And it gets to be everywhere. Everybody gets to have transformation.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
agree with that 100%. So can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about this, the title of the interview, which you have chosen, Learning, Letting Go, and Moving Forward, Starting from Now? What does that mean, and how
Yeah.
does it support parents? Why we are beating ourselves up for not being and doing what is required in the moment?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, letting go, like waking up, I call it my wake up call. I know that there's like controversy around that word. It's fine. Like I was sleeping. I was pretending not to know all these things in my life that weren't working. And I didn't realize it because I was hanging on to all this stuff. So when you start going through the process of transformation and doing the inner work, you start to realize, oh yeah, I'm learning all these new tools. And in the process, I'm letting go of all the stuff that didn't ever work. So part of the transformation itself is learning how to show up in a different way. I was not congruent, right? Like I would say that my family was the most important thing to me, but then I would turn around and work 100 hours a week. So what I was saying and how I was showing up were not congruent. They weren't the same thing. And so learning that, waking up to that, really doing the inner work to see myself from a different space allowed me to become friends with all that stuff I was pushing down and not letting up and letting go. And then I was able to let it go. So it's really, it's about learning a new way. When we're in this rat race, when we're in the go, 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 which is exactly where I was at. I was working, working, working. I was constantly busy. I constantly had a full schedule. I was burnt out inside. I was mad at the world. And when we live like that on a constant basis, we don't create the results that we say we really want to create. And so the very first part of it was like waking up and learning and just getting honest with myself about what was really going on in my life. And then what did I really want? And so when you go through the work, Philza, to be like, what do I really want? You realize that there are stuff that I get to let go of in order to step into what that really looks like, because it requires a different way of being, right? To be like, meditation is a great example. So when you're in the busy, 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 meditation is a great tool to just shut it all out. But that didn't come naturally for me. I was like, what is this meditation? I don't get it. Have you heard inside my head, right? But it took practice, let go, try again, let go, learn more, try again. So it was this constant evolution of getting to that next level, because I was finally taking control of my own life back. So learning what worked for me, learning what didn't work for me, letting go of all the stuff that didn't work so that I could step into these new ways of being that I knew would create what it was that I really wanted to create. Right? Like, I just waking up to that, like waking up to, oh, like, I've lived my whole life for everything and everyone else. And I've never been a consideration for that. Like, you spend all your time taking care of everyone else. And at the end of the day, there's no time to take care of yourself. So when I let go of what I was getting out of taking care of everyone else and just put myself as priority, like, I get to be full. Because when I'm full and when I'm in my full power, I can create whatever it is that I get to create. But if I'm holding on and not letting go to all the stuff that doesn't work, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So it's a process. Transformation is a process. It's a process of learning new ways and embodying those new ways. And we get to let go in order to step into what that really looks like.
So way too many times we hear people bringing back the past.
Yeah.
All like we pick it up really quickly. We can hear it. Oh, so and so, this long time ago, this happened, and we struggle to let go of that past. So what advice would you give to someone struggling to let go and feeling, that they failed at some point?
Yeah. I mean, failure is a gift, right? If we're not failing, we're not growing, and we're not moving towards what it is that we really want. So a great power question is, what am I getting out of holding on to this? Like, if you're holding on to something and like, I'm trying to let this go and I'm still mad and I can't let it go. I mean, it's a real thing. It happens. Like probably within the last couple of weeks, there's been something like that, right? Like, but when I just be like, why am I hanging on to this? What am I getting out of it? And when we really dig into that question, we realize that, it's probably like, it just makes me feel good. It just makes me feel good to hang on to it. Like, I'm not really committed to moving on to the next level. We realize what's really in the way. And so what happened in the past, honestly, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You're holding on to something that literally is not going to move you forward. So when we put ourselves first, when we say, no, I get to rise into my best leadership and what is not serving me right now, hanging on to, the fact that Uncle Johnny called me a brat 17 years ago is not something that's serving me. So I get to let that go, and I just get to love Uncle Johnny for exactly who he is, right? That's a weird example, but it's what just came to my head. But like, it doesn't serve you to hang on to it. When you're hanging on to all that stuff, you're letting someone else have your power. And when I really let that click in my head, like, oh, wait, nobody gets to have my power. Like, no, nobody gets to have my power. What do I get to do right now to let it go? what do I get to do right now to let it go so I can step into my best self, so I can step into my values, who I get to be, who I really want to be when I show up. And when we get really present to how we're showing up and what that looks like, those are the questions. And that's how we really start to move into a different way of being and showing up differently. Understanding yourself too, Edith, is a really, really big one. When I understand myself well enough to know what my superpowers are, I can move faster on those. When I know, probably even more importantly, what my shadows are, and we all have them, right? My shadow, I'm a promoter. So my shadow is disorganization. My shadow is loss of focus. My shadow is, and so I have a million and one tools that I ground myself on an ongoing basis so I can stay in my power. Because when I'm not organized, when I'm out there not clear on what I'm doing, I'm not in my best leadership. I'm not being my best self, and I'm committed to being my best self. Not that it always happens, but when it does happen, I can quickly come back to what it is that I say I really want to be.
And that's reflecting most in our neurodivergent kids, which we are focusing on in this summit altogether. So moving the area to this, like being a mother of 5 kids, how important it is for all the parents, including me and Edith, to be connected, to stay connected to our children, even they are not around us. So can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, intention. I mean, I talk about knowing ourselves, super important, but it's also important to know the people you're in relationship with, starting with your immediate family, right? Your partner, your kids. When, my daughter is a great example, 24, she looks like me, she acts like me, she's a little mini me. And so my whole life, I've just like, she's a mini me. She's supposed to act like me. She's supposed to be like me. So I'm treating her like me. And she's actually an introvert. She's actually not the same personality as I am. And it caused a lot of this our whole lives because I was coming at her in a different way. Like I almost didn't know her. I was coming at her with my lens versus really getting to know who she was and how she operated. And instead of telling her what to do, asking questions. Like that's the big thing for me. If I could go back to my kids, instead of telling, I would ask questions. I would ask them how they're feeling. I would ask them what their dreams are. I would ask them what their visions are. I would ask them what's working and what's not working. I would ask them all these questions instead of I think back and I was a really good director. I was a really good old school leadership mom, right? Let me tell you what to do. Let me tell you how to do it. Here's the plan for it. Go. And that doesn't work. It didn't work. But I didn't have these tools when they were teens. So this is why I say it's never too late, because we literally spent years of intention saying, how do we create a 10-10 relationship right now? I get for the first 24 years of our life, we weren't there. I thought we were. I was clouded. I didn't know. I didn't understand. Here we are now. How do we intentionally create a 10-10 relationship now? And we've been able to do that through communication, through love, through joy, through understanding each other. But if I didn't, I am ADHD. Both of my kids are ADHD. We were blind to that. I had, Tanner on all kinds of medication and we were blind to it until I went through my transformation. It is never too late. Today, I have amazing relationships with my kids. And it's because we sat down and we had the tough conversations. Hey, look, I get that I fell short. I get that in these areas I could have done better. And I'm here now. How do we move forward? What does it look like as we move forward? So just having the really deep conversations, I got out of the surface level stuff, Philza. Like literally, I got out of directing and I got out of the surface and I started going deep and asking questions. And it repaired our relationship in the process.
And I'm sure it did not happen overnight. It needs a lot of practice. Need a lot
No,
of
my daughter came to me one day and she said, Mom, I'm after rehab. It was probably maybe like a year after rehab. She says, I'm moving to New York and I'm not having kids. I was like, whoa, one of those at a time. Like this is, two of the big things. But she went there to isolate. She went there to heal. She went there to be very intentional on what she was creating. And again, through the process, we were able to heal together, individually together and collectively together, just because we got intentional, just because I got intentional, because I learned the tools. I started with me. I did my own internal work. And then I was able, because I did the internal work, I was able to have the deep conversations that I really needed to have with them. And that made the big difference. But it did not happen overnight. It was years. It was years of still bathroom floor crying, like, I don't get what's wrong. I don't, working through it, doing all the stuff. And today, when there's a trigger and I trigger her or my son, or they trigger me or whatever it is, we have tools that we can work through it. Okay, that was harsh. Can we sit down and talk about this? But I don't take it as personally and have these fly out of the handle reactions like I used to and all this. So the tools matter, and the tools begin the ripple effect throughout all of it, through your relationship with your partner, with your kids, with the people at work, everything. But nothing changes until I changed. Nothing changed until I changed.
Yeah, the whole idea of this summit, that's why we titled Courageous Parenting, because it takes a lot of courage to step into our power, to heal ourselves in order to support others, our children, our loved ones, our mothers and fathers. So can you give us a couple of tips and tools that parents can courageously use to start this transformation?
Yeah, neutrality is probably the best one, or the biggest one, not the best, but the biggest, because there's a few. But neutrality and non-judgment, right? So, and then I also think about old school leadership versus new school leadership, which I talk about with adults, because I was an old school leader, which meant that as the leader, I'm supposed to have all the answers. I'm supposed to create the plan. I'm going to tell you how to do it. I'm going to tell you where to do it. And then you're just going to go and do it. And that doesn't, no, that does not work anymore. And so new school is the questioning and the non-judgment and the neutrality. It's emotional intelligence. It's self-regulation and the regulation of others. It really is all about emotional intelligence. And really not only understanding yourself, but understanding your kids so deeply that how they're going to react. How when they show up in their glory and when they show up in their shadows, it, and you're prepared for it and ready for it. And it's not, we're on this rat race and something goes down, and so we got to quick fix it, and we're still in the chaos as that's happening. It's no, we get to shut down the world and pause, and we get to sit in this conversation because we are worth it. Because you are worth it. The learning is worth it. The growth is learning. Our relationship is worth it. But when we continue to choose the rat race, when we continue to choose the matrix, whatever you want to call it, we're going to continue to get the same results. So the second that I stepped out of that rat race and I said, wait, pause, time out, life is stopping right now until we figure this out, I'd be sitting here today and it'd all still be the same. I'd still be stressed out, burnt out. My kids would still be, flailing and not successful. It's a choice, right? It's a choice of, do I want to continue to create these results in my life, in my family's life, or do I want something different? I wanted something different. I was heartbroken that my daughter rode up that escalator on her way to the 30-day drug and alcohol rehab. It was the best thing that ever happened for her. But in that moment, I was like, something gets to change. It started with me. It starts with the parent.
What do you have to say to the parents who are comfortable in their conditionality and not ready to be the leader, go through the work of transformation and lead in a, new school leadership? What do you have to
Yeah,
say?
I mean, honestly, I get frustrated about it, when people continue to be okay with the results that are happening and continue to look outside like it's somebody else's fault, like there's some other reason why it's happening. It's discouraging, because if we just all would turn a mirror around and just do our own inner work, it's actually what will change this planet. And when we're not willing to wake up, when we're not willing to really see what's happening in our life, we continue to get the same results. So, I guess if somebody's out there and they're listening to this, I think that they're totally in an opposite. The people that are listening to this are the ones that might be ready, but maybe you just don't know how, and that's okay. That's a whole different thing. I say all the time, I can be the best trainer, coach, speaker in the world, right? And if you're not ready to move, you're not going to move, no matter how good of a coach I am or how good of a trainer I am. So So it starts with that wake up moment when the parent or whoever it is goes, oh, I want different results and I'm committed to do what it takes in order to get them. That's where you get to be. When people are in that position, now you come and see Edith and Philza and me, and we can create, the training and the programs there. It's all there for you. But if you're not willing to step into it and look at your shadows, you're going to continue to live in the dark. Right? When we face our shadows, we start to see the light. We start to step towards the light, and we start to step towards the joy and the freedom and all the things that we say that we want. But when we're over here, like scared to step out of that, we're going to continue to get the same. So if somebody's listening to this and it's my guess, Philza, is that it's fear. If somebody would have come to me before my wake up call and said, hey, here's some programs, I don't know that I would have been ready because I wasn't in the space yet to see my actual results. So sometimes it takes a wake up call, sometimes it doesn't, but looking at the results in your life, is that what you really want? If it is, okay, great. If it's not, then that's when you get to reach out for support. Reach out and say, hey, I'm ready. I don't have the answers, but I'm ready. I didn't have the answers. I didn't have a clue. I mean, there was like a year and a half, 18 months or so where I was going through it so hard and in my own stuff and in my own like recovery and healing that it would, that needed to happen first before I could even step on the other side of it to support the kids. But through the process, how cool is it that we were able to do it together? And so it didn't happen that way right away. Like I had to go through my stuff. So there's nothing to fear. There's only joy and freedom on the other side of it. And there's all kinds of support to support people to get there. So I guess what I would say to somebody that's doing that is really check in with what's holding you back, what's holding you back from stepping in. And a lot of the times it's fear of the unknown. We have this thing where we feel like we have to have the answers. I have to have a plan. I can't say anything until I have the answer. I have a plan. And it's really about, hey, this is what's coming up for me. Does anybody out there have any support that they could suggest? It's literally that easy. It literally is that easy.
Oh, thank you for sharing all these with us. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So when do you think that there are cultural differences, the way it influences us to start over, or when is the last, I don't know, when is the last time that you can start over? How do you call it? Is it too late to start over?
It's never too late. I mean, in some of these leadership classes, we've got, yeah, I'm 55 years old right now. I was 50 years old. My kids were 24 and 22, right? Like, it was a perfect time for me. I've had people that have gone through this in their 70s. I've seen someone go through that was 82 years old.
Yeah.
It's never too late to reclaim your power. It's never too late to reclaim your joy and your freedom. It never is. As far as cultural differences, I'm sure that there are. The resistance towards it is probably much stronger in some cultures because here's what happens. As I change, I would literally show up in spaces that I had always been in, whether it was like someplace in the community or just at a holiday dinner or whatever. And people would be like, whoa, what's happening with you? I want some of what you're taking. And that would be the original response. But then when I would continue to stand in my power and show up in a different way, like using my voice, where I wouldn't have been before, like sometimes people aren't okay with that. It takes people back, especially the ones that have been with you for however long they've been with you, because they're used to you showing up how you've always shown up. And so when we start showing up differently, we get to be really confident and no, this is what I want. Remember? No, this is what I wanted. Remember? No, this is what, because it's a change. We're changing. You're not only changing yourself, but there's a ripple effect that happens throughout everything that you're involved in. So the culture, like, I think the difficulty is, it's very easy, especially in the beginning of your transformation, to be like, okay, I'm going to try on my confidence today in this meeting. And we walk in and we're confident. And then somebody's like, oh, you're stupid. I mean, they wouldn't say that, but something happens and it triggers you. And then all of a sudden you're back and you're not in your power anymore. But that's the practice that it takes to continue to show up and continue to show up. Because if that would happen, I go home that night and go, you know what? He doesn't get to have my power anymore. Like next time I get to use my voice. And then the next time that that would happen, I would be able to use my voice. So yes, there's probably more cultural pushback in some cultures or more pushback in some cultures. And still doesn't mean that you can't stand in your power. Still doesn't mean that you can't stand in it. You know, part of the transformation is letting go of what other people think. Part of the transformation is letting go that other people are going to judge you and being okay with that. You know, I was a huge people pleaser, and I wanted everyone to like me. I don't care right now if people, I'm sorry if you don't like me, but I am me and I know my intention and I get to stand in that. And so that's a process of learning in of itself to really get to that space.
Mm. So as we are concluding our interview, can you quickly tell us about your vision? What is your vision and
Oh,
your
my
gift?
vision is a transformed world. My vision is a conscious world. My vision is a world where we all do the inner work to let go of all the stuff that's holding us back so we can step into our best self, so we can step into our power. And so I've created several different safe spaces for people to actually be able to do that because that's what was missing for me. I started going through this work and I was like, how have these tools been out there and I didn't know about it? How did I not know about this? Like, this is amazing stuff that really makes a big difference in life. And so my vision is to, whether it's a free hour workshop once a month, Burnout to Bliss, or whether it's our 3-day retreat center in Florida, it's really to hold safe space, to bring people that are ready, like we talked about before, somebody who's ready to be like, okay, I'm ready. And we have a whole process that we can walk you through. Like you don't have to do this alone at all. So the free gift is it's teams that thrive, TEAMS. But here's the thing, a family is a team, right? A teenager that has a group of friends is a team. We play on so many teams in our life. So the free gift is a free download that just really talks about what it looks like to not only stand in our own leadership, but what it looks like to play in a team and really stand in your leadership from a team perspective. So
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for
Absolutely.
sharing everything with us, Tina, and thank you for being here with us.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. It's been awesome for sure.
It's a phenomenal, valuable interview, and yeah, I've been glued to the screen, and I'm sure our parents will get so much value, and your gift is amazing. Thank you.
Mm. It's never too late. It's never too late. I want to scream it from the mountaintops. It's never too late. Today, life is now. Make it happen.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. Have a
Thank you.
lovely day. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.